So what's going on guys, Kate's here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you Dark and Darker class guide in 2024. This game in general has bunch of fun and overpowered classes to play, and we have a very unique variety to choose from. But the big question is, which classes are actually good for you and the specific activities that you want to do. So I've done a bunch of testing and here are the best classes that you should try out. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. The cleric is the main healing class, requiring those who take on the role to monitor how their teammates are doing closely, and if they need medical assistance. The cleric also wears many hats, as they heal and revive teammates, and can also deal tons of damage to undead enemies with the right perks. By playing the support role, you still get to use your main utility. You can deal significant damage, and lastly, your gear is least impactful. You will need to equip a spell memory skill in one of your slots to cast your healing, reviving or buffing incantations. But this is just a small sacrifice to get the very best out of the cleric. Initially, you can use up to 5 spells, but you can add 5 more by equipping the spell memory. However, better magic has a higher equip cost, so you should consider which ones are essential for your party needs. Having the ability for the cleric to revive or heal himself or other players is a significant role in Dark and Darker, and that's why the cleric can easily be considered the most important class in the game. Even though it got slightly nerfed at the launch, it is still a perfect class for both beginners and experienced players who like to play in a position of a support class. If you like to have an wide choice of armor and shields, then cleric's got it all. Its best perk is the Undead Slaying, which will boost all of your damage against undead by 20%. And his best skill is the Undead Purification, which functions like an AoE against undead. During the playtest sessions and the launch, the Ranger was among the most popular Dark and Darker classes, allowing you to shoot down dangerous foes at a distance. Their starting weapon is the Recurver Bow, which is one of the best starting weapons available. They also begin the game with a campfire kit that allows you and the rest of your party to rest and recover, that is, if you can find a secluded enough place to do it safely. Generally, the Ranger's perks and skills rely on you using the ranged weapons and attacks. For example, you can fire 5 arrows simultaneously in a spread pattern with the multi-shot skill, or speed up your next projectile when attacking with a long-range weapon using a quick fire. If your party has a cleric, the ranger is a fantastic companion class that can spot danger from afar and replenish their allies' healing spells. This class is amazing for solo and group content, as ranged damage allows you to deal with the enemies at a distance, and thus protecting yourself from receiving damage unless you're overwhelmed. That's where the Ranger becomes very valuable, especially since it can shoot through holes in doors. The Ranger's best perk is tracking, which will allow you to detect enemy footsteps, and its best skill is the multi-shot, which will allow you to shoot 5 targets at once. Ranger can also heal himself by foraging food or by setting up a campfire. A bard player uses music to confuse or entertain crowds of enemies, making them a strong support type of character that excels at distracting enemies. They can also heal their friends and give them temporary buffs, making them an excellent addition to any band of adventurers. However, their noisy profession makes them one of the least stealthy classes. Bards are pretty tricky to master their core gameplay mechanics. Songs require them to plug the correct notes by timing the right mouse button presses. If you can overcome these challenges, then you may find them a highly effective alternative to other support-based classes. Bard is one of the 2 new classes that were introduced at the launch, and it is very versatile, but it's mostly a support class that can switch between various instruments to help his allies. I personally found this class rather to be slow and inconvenient when it comes to changing instruments mid-fight, or even playing them, because they alert all the enemies around. Of course, such perks as dancing feet and reinforced instruments help a lot, but they're only decent healers and buffers/debuffers, and they can only deal melee damage. It would be best to use the bard alongside the cleric, boosting its clarity stat, which would be so much more useful for your team. But with that said, as you can still do damage while being a support, and your gear doesn't impact your gameplay that much, so this is a still powerful class to play. If you like to fight with your fists but you don't want your stealth to be affected, As much as it would be with the barbarian, then you should consider the fighter class. The fighter is only class with 2 starter items, a sword and a shield. Not quite as strong damage-wise as the barbarian and with lower health, but the fighter has better agility, so they are more balanced and stronger overall. Which fighter perks and skills you equip also reflect this balance, as it covers a wide variety of playstyles. Whether increasing your movement speed, reducing damage taken, or recovering your HP slowly, you can mold the fighter around your strengths and weaknesses, and perhaps more than any other class. Fighter has been significantly buffed for the release of Dark and Darker, making it one of the best classes now. It's got an accessed vast selection of both weapons and armor, which will allow you to achieve balance and flexibility. Its dual wield perks allow you to equip a weapon in each hand, thus increasing his damage output. Alternatively, you can wield a shield for increased defense. Fighter is also one of the few classes who has the ability to heal himself, using his second wind skill, but this class can be effective only against melee enemies, and it's still highly vulnerable against magic. Warlocks are magic users who have teamed up with the devil. They channel their powers through sacrifice, summoning hellfire and weakening their foes. While nowhere near as explosive in damage as the wizard, they are a lot more durable. Unlike wizards, a warlock can use swords and other single-hand melee weapons with ease. As this is one of the newest classes in the game, I haven't spent too much time with the warlock. However, as the only other offensive magic user, besides the wizard class, it stands a chance of becoming a fan favorite. Their ability to temporarily escape reality to get some distance is vital to their survivability. The warlock has a very strong hellfire spell, which functions as a powerful AoE attack, but it's really only effective in PvE. The rest of the spells and perks are underwhelming, but that could change in the future. The same as with the fighter class, which got a significant buff at the release. Surprisingly, it has a healing perk called Torture Mastery, which functions similarly to the lifesteal, but in this case, it's based on the damage from the Curse of Pain. Either way, it will take a while before Warlock becomes less slept upon, and much stronger in both PvP and PvE. The Warlock class is very good because people can do cave trolls at level 1, and if you headshot someone with a staff and blow up your corruption, you still get to do really nice damage. And from all the starting classes, you get really nice gear and amazing stats. As the most agile class, what the rogue lacks in health and strength, they make up for it in the movement speed and agility. Their quick attacks sees them attack using repeated pokes with a small dagger. A rogue also has limited access to that ranged combat, as they start with the 3 throwable knives. Of course, a rogue specializes in stealth, which allows for some excellent perks and skills, including the ability to steal items from enemies or pick locks without requiring a lockpick. They're perhaps a bit harder to use in combat than any other class, but being able to hide from your enemies can make PvP fights a little bit more unpredictable. If you're tired of slow, clumsy characters, then Rogue should be your number 1 choice, because of its high mobility and agility. One of the Rogue's best perks is the Lockpicked Expert, which will provide you with a limited amount of lockpicks. Another great perk is the Poisoned Weapon, which will allow you to detect and disarm traps. Rogue's best skill is Hide, which can basically make him invisible. So overall, this is a great class, although you may find that the damage is a bit lacking, and it has no access to spells. They're beefy melee experts who aren't afraid to get up close and personal. While a barbarian is competent with many weapon types, I recommend using a battle axe as their primary weapon, alongside a throwable axe as your starting weapon. Barbarians are slow and there's no real way to improve their base speed. However, there are ways to buff the rest of the barbarian key stats, focusing on strength, health recovery, and the impact power of your axe strikes. The barbarian has the most strength and health of all classes in Dark and Darker, but that's not all it got. The barbarian's 2 best perks are probably Iron Will, which will protect it from the magic damage, and Smash, which will allow him to break doors. Its best skill is Warcry, which increases his own HP as well as of his allies. But other than that, the barbarian is very slow class, with no ability to cast spells and no significant buffs. This class will only survive in a well-built team or in the hands of a hardcore solo player. Wizard is a damage-dealing magic user, wielding spells for attacking enemies. However, a wizard's magic is their most potent offense, meaning that one of your skill slots must include the spell memory skill to set more spells at once. While there are certain perks and skills that you should always equip, you have at least one perk slot available to choose from that's your own personal preference. If you specialize in fire magic, then there's a perk to help the fire last longer. If you want to use arcane magic specifically, then there's the perk to buff the damage. Whichever one of you choose, you'll be a force to be reckoned with, even though a wizard's defense is as fragile as a tissue paper. Casting spells is a great alternative to dealing ranged physical damage, although there are few drawbacks to this class in comparison to the ranger or cleric. The wizard's best skill is meditation, which will allow him to immediately restore his spells. This is the only class in the game with this kind of ability. Although wizard can be very effective against enemies with heavy armor, its own strength and health are very low. It can be very hard to survive without a cleric in your party. So with that said, I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback or other video ideas like class guides or beginner tutorials that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. If you found this video helpful, then please leave a like, subscribe and enable that notification bell so you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With that said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in my next video, so take it easy, peace.